All right, we are here at my indoor tiny worm bin, and this bin is only 16 days old. In fact, we've only fed it twice, and we're gonna do the third feeding, and something I'm noticing right away is the top is pretty dry, but underneath that, we've got some dampness, and I'm already seeing worms. And one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about with this bin is that everything that I'm putting into it would be in the trash if it wasn't for me composting with these worms. And wow, let's kind of look at these right away. Those are some great, we've got some big ones here and then some more juvenile looking ones. And we're getting lots of castings so far. This is pretty good. This is really good for only being a little over 2 weeks old. Lots of great worms in here. And something I'm noticing is that we're not seeing any of the last feeding. And that last feeding consisted of some red chard and some kale. And I put some in that had leaves on the edges, but you could see the spine because I want to see if we can find out, like how much they're eating or if they're eating part of it but not the others. And one of the reasons we may not be seeing any food is because it's been 9 days since we were in here last. And we've been feeding small amounts at first. In fact, the first feeding only consisted of 3 strawberry tops, and that was because we wanted to make sure that we're not overfeeding. That's probably the #1 problem with new worm bins and even old worm bins is overfeeding. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking at all these great worms. Look at their color. These are red wigglers. They're just deep in color and chunky and just totally healthy. The bin feels great. Underneath feels like the perfect moisture level. It's just kind of that top cardboard that was just a little dry. And adding more food is going to help to increase the moisture. I just got to keep grabbing these things because they're so beautiful. Just look at the deep color of them. And this one is kind of on its side, so that's why you could see the underside of it. I'll pull this one around. You can see underneath they're a little bit lighter color than the top, but just amazing. Amazing worms, and there's 600 of them in here. 612 to be exact last time we counted. And I'm just gonna go in the corners. I'm seeing a little bit of castings, which is great. Now, every time we feed, we add a little bit more bedding and a little bit more food, and they eat both the food and the bedding. So let's just kind of get around all the edges to aerate it, and then we'll start our feeding. All right, we've mixed it up really good and aerated it, so we've got a good mixture of dry and wet bedding throughout, and I'm gonna add a little bit less than I did last time, so let's go ahead and add our bedding. Now, what's amazing to me is what I'm putting in right now is shredded junk mail and boxes that we got from Amazon or from wherever. You just take your cardboard boxes and you can shred them. I actually use my 12-sheet cross-cut shredder, and I'll put affiliate links to show you what I use, but that thing just tears apart the corrugated cardboard and chops it down beautifully. And actually, if you put 12 sheets of paper in, it makes it sound rougher than when you put this corrugated cardboard in. And then next comes the feeding. And these are all food scraps that weren't gonna be consumed by the family. So as you can see, we're gonna up the ante here a little bit and put some foods that I haven't put in before, like a tomato top. And that's a little bit of a fast with a slow food because of the peel. This right here is a scallion flower. I just kind of chop the flower so the scallion keeps producing leaves for us. Here is some celery. It's got some parts that are going to be fast food because they'll eat these leafy parts. And then some of this part will be stringy, and that'll be a little bit more of a slow food. So we might see this in about a week when we check in on it. And then strawberries, which we all know that they go through the strawberry fleshy part real well, and then they'll leave the leafy part as kind of a slow food. Takes them a little bit longer. This is just a jalapeno. And then we've got the normal banana peels, which are fast food in the center where the fleshy part is, but then certainly a slow food on the peel. And again, what's remarkable to me is so far what we've put in here is just waste that would end up in the trash, and maybe this would end up in the recycling. But all of this is gonna go back into my garden as fertilizer, and then it's gonna feed me and make more more strawberries, more tomatoes, more jalapenos, more scallions, and even more potatoes. And all through worms. This is just, I'm just sorry, I just get so excited. Worms make fertilizer for me with stuff I was gonna throw away. How amazing is that? So like I said, everything I put in here is something I would throw away, but right here is some pulverized oats. Well, I made a mistake. I let these things expire, and they've been expired for about 4 years. So go ahead and check your pantry and see if you have any expired grains and put those in your worm bins. Here's another one that I love. This is kind of a game changer. This is coffee grounds and tea grounds. And normally they'd go in the trash, or some people put them in their garden. I actually have another regular compost pile that I put this in too, but some people put them down their sink, and that's not really good for your pipes or getting compacted into the bends in your pipes or your garbage disposal. But here we go. We're gonna put them in here, and the worms are gonna turn them into fertilizer. It's a food for them. And the last thing that I'm gonna add that is so cool also is eggshells. Those definitely were going in the trash for a while for me, but I pulverize them and I put them in the worm bin, and the worms actually use them to help aid in their digestion. They have gizzards, kind of like birds, and they use this to grind up their food. So we'll go ahead and bury this up. We've given a little bit bigger of a feeding. Certainly they ate 100% of the food that we gave them last time. So we're gonna be able to keep increasing the amount that we give them. And all of it, amazingly enough, is stuff that I wouldn't use. It's just my waste product. And it's gonna turn into fertilizer. It's gonna go in my garden and then feed me again. I just, sorry if I sound dramatic, but I just love that. That is just so awesome to me. There's a little one right there. So let's go ahead and put on the top newspaper. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. I've got a couple other bins where I do different experiments. I've got a worm tower and an outdoor worm bin. So if you wanna learn about that, go ahead and subscribe and check out my playlist. So I hope everybody's having a great day, and happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.